Hi, this is Andre again with another update on the MicroPET. If you've been wondering what has happened in the meantime with this board, I can tell you that this is the long period where I'm actually waiting for the new version of the board to be produced and sent to me. So today we're looking at the keyboard and what we can do with it. And I have got myself a C64 case and I'm trying to put that in here. So stay tuned. So I got this from an internet auction site, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what it is in there. And so let's unpack it. Isn't that a beautiful case? A little bit of yellowing here, but never mind. I'm going to do some cutting on it anyway, and yeah, I guess that's nice to be. This will be a nice test board for mounting the MicroPET keyboard, actually the PET Tekelec keyboard, into the Commodore 64 case. What you can actually see here, if you look a bit closer, you can see that it actually should fit in quite well. And if you look at the space key, this is really like as it should have been made for this case. And in fact, the first Commodore VIC-20 actually had a Commodore PET keyboard in there with just some different, well, I guess some additional keys, and but other keys are taped over. So you can actually see, if you go to some internet auctions, you can see the VIC-20 key, the function keys here, and you can see that they have taped over with black tape the holes for the other keys. So yes, it should be rather compatible. Yeah, we'll have to see. And to add, also the 8-bit guy has already done this conversion, so I'm not the first one to do that, but I will see if I going to use the same brackets and supports that he has been using in his video that I'm going to be linking below. So looking at the keyboard, how am I going to mount that into the frame? As you can see, if you look at, I'm holding it up here inside the case, you can see, if I kind of center on the space bar, you can see that here on the left hand side, I would probably have to cut something out, and then there is a gap here, and then on the other side I have to cut out something here for the last column of keys on the right hand side. So as far as I understand, the 8-bit guy has moved the keyboard a little bit to the left, and what you can see then is that the lower two rows here fit, the right hand side fits, but you have to cut out a larger part here, and the spacebar is not centered correctly anymore. I'll probably have to look up if I can find some keycaps here that are a little bit wider, and I'll cut out here also a little bit, so to make that at least look as if it's filled. That's probably the best way to do, is to avoid too many cuts here and make it too difficult to cut out. Looking at the height of the keyboard and how it's mounted, if you look at an original Commodore keyboard, now that I see it's actually a Commodore 16 keyboard, I think. While in the original bread box, you would have those holes be used for keys that mounted to the top of the case. This is not the case here anymore, so you have to slide the board into these holding things, and there were some kind of supports on top of the actual board here that I don't have right now. So, but I can't use that anymore, because if you look at the height of the keyboard, you can see that basically the new keyboard is just as high as the original from the top on the screen of the keys to the keys. So what is really missing is that whole height here, that section. So what I will have to do is I will have to design something like a 3D printed support that at some point will slide here into those noses, and on the other side will support the keyboard from the other side. It also has to, I have to make sure that if I mount the MicroPET board somewhere here, I have to make sure when I design this support, it leaves enough space for between the keyboard and the board, between the support here. So that's going to be a challenge, but I think the first challenge is cutting out the right holes on the top of the case. So now I have noted where I am going to cut the case, and I'm going to use that tool. Always, if you do that, always wear glasses and a protective mask. So I have been working on the case, and as you can see, seems to fit quite nicely. You really have to make sure there's little tolerance, that you cut out enough of this on the sides and also in the edges, so that the keys are working. And yeah, so because there's and that also gives me a hint on the actual case fitting. And also from the original part that was between the function keys and the original keys, I have cut out this part. Well, probably, we'll see if I'm able to glue it in somehow. Okay, it's now several days later, and also several 3D prints later, and I'm finally got to the point where I have the keyboard more or less fixed within the Commodore 64 case. So let's have a look at how it is inside. So let me try to open it up. You will see why I have to use a screwdriver here for now. Because I'll probably, I mean, this is all work in progress, so bear with me. Okay. Now, if you open the case, you can see I have printed some supports for the keyboard, which is actually only just put in here, and this should actually be here on top of that. So this is the keyboard, it's unmodified, just I removed the support, and this is what I designed and printed on my 3D printer. Those two are some older ones. This is a newer one. What you can see here is you have to slide it in a little bit in the lower end, and then at some point I maybe snap it in here on the top side. So you push it all to the left, and then there is this little distance holder from the side, which I'll probably change a little bit. It goes in here to keep it on the left hand side. On the top I had to extend a little bit here more, and then you can see my dremeld skills are not that good, so yeah. But anyway, this was just a test case, or it's just a test case. There is of course one thing to talk about, because you may have seen that this is an original case. I do have a new case, a crystal clear case, which I'm going to use for the next build, and there are new cases available. However, on the web shop that I found, they didn't have them at the moment, and this was one. This was actually only half the price that I would pay for a brand new one, and I didn't slaughter an existing Commodore machine, so I just got what I got offered on an auction site. So I'm not in favor of taking parts of existing old machines, but this was just what was available, without me personally destroying any kind of vintage computer. Having said that, there is the keyboard mount from that the 8-bit guy was using for his Hetsky Tech-Elect keyboard, which consisted of a number of 3D printed parts. Yeah, I tried printing it and see if I could use it, but I had some problems with printing it. I'm new to 3D printing, so I'm not sure if I'm going to use them in the end. Also, those parts have the extra key here missing on both sides that I actually want to use. So what I've seen in the meantime is that Steve Gray has PCBs for Commodore PET keyboards on his website, so you can build them yourself, get the boards produced, use MX switches similar to the Petsky keyboard. They are completely free to download and use, and Steve has even found better uses for the two space keys on the left and right of the actual space bar, because he saw that some places in the keyboard matrix for the Commodore PET graphics keyboard are not actually used. So he has the option to actually connect those two keys to places in the keyboard matrix that are not used otherwise. So that gives an interesting option to use them in your programs. I'm still waiting for the boards for the MicroPET version 2. They are being produced, and I'm putting up a picture here that I got from the production company, and I hope they will be arriving soon. But otherwise, that's it for now. So thanks for watching, hope you like it, and see you next time.